All right, so you will see I got my little blobs and I've got my color. It's hatching its way through the shape of my blobs, and we'll talk about that as we go right there. So, okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to follow the rules of progression from the background to the little foreground area. So looks like back here I've got a bit of my yellow right there. So this little blob back here is that yellow. So I'm going to take this, I'll outline this. Yellow on yellow is, it's hard to see what you're doing. Okay, so I've outlined that. I can make the edge, you think about this, I weighted this line, right, on this blob, so my outline would be kind of weighted more there than it would be right there, right? So, yeah, I'll curve it even further if I want to do that. Okay, so looking at this surface, what I'm doing is I'm kind of perceiving how this thing might curve in reality, and I'm just sort of curving, making some marks like as I go. So you gotta almost pretend like you're a little ant and you're crawling across this little thing. It's like, what would you do with the dips and the divots and all the stuff? So after I do my directional lines on here, what I'm gonna do is I'll just take the little edges of this thing. I'll make this a little bit heavier here, and then I'll not as heavy in the middle. So I'm just making little broken lines there. You can see that. It seems like, let's see here, I must have added some red. It looks like right here. So I'm adding just a little something here where I've weighted those lines. You can go, I'm kind of going horizontally with my mark making. You could easily add blue, I suppose. So anyway, yeah. I could do a little, just because you have a shadow right here, you could do just a little bit of blue if you'd like to, just to create that depth right there. So we're gonna move to right here. This is my blue blob, and I'll take it and I'll outline it. Just like I did with the yellow, because this thing is weighted right here, I can make my outline just a little bit heavier. Just a little bit. And so what I'm going to do here is I am perceiving the shape here, like which direction it's going. I'm going to just take it kind of that way. I'm kind of like doing it, it's sort of diagonal, right? So I made some like directional lines that way. I'm doing my other directional lines that are kind of filling in things, they're going the same diagonally sort of way. So I'm like filling in this thing. So it's just a bunch of hatching, right? After I do that, I'll start filling in just a little bit in the middle, but you do want to keep the middle relatively light. Because this is on your palette right here and it's in the foreground, you can get fairly heavy if you'd like, especially around the edge of the weighted line. But you do want to try to blend things out so that it makes sense visually. It appears what I did is I introduced a little bit of red in this, and I think the reason why I did that, there's a little bit of red here, and I was trying to figure out what can I do to break up all of this blue. It's subtle. It still looks blue, but it just bumps it up. It just elevates it a little bit more. And it gives it a little bit more depth and interest in all the things there. So next thing I'm going to do is I'll do this red right here. And this red right here is a little different because it flops over this way. And it's going over this little section, which I'm going to emphasize with some lines. So I'm outlining this. You can see that weighted line at the bottom is a bit more aggressive than the ones up here. All right, so after I do that, I'm going to focus really here first. And I'm taking these lines and they're kind of getting more horizontal. I sort of started diagonal right here, and then I'm moving them and making them horizontally because it's going over, it's going on top of a horizontal area right here. I've decided to make it a little bit heavier on my left side than I'm doing on my right side right here. And what that's going to do is going to give it kind of a 3D side to it in a way. Okay, so it's a little heavier here. I'm going to build this. I'm just going horizontally for the most part. And I am keeping kind of a lighter area in this little part here. My line is a little weaker on that side. You can, just to create a little bit more depth, especially as it transcends this little edge area, you can pull in just a little bit of this blue if you need to. You can pull it through that way if you'd like. Let's see here. Next thing, we'll do a little blob of red right here. You can see I weighted it a bit heavier down here on that base, so my line, as it's creeping around here, is going to end up getting a bit heavier. All right, so here it appears that I went this way. I kind of, I went horizontal, but I sort of curved my lines. You could go this way as well, and it would work just as well. So I'm doing like just my in general directional lines. You can see they're curved. This little side is curved, so therefore I'm curving it. This is kind of curved, so I'm curving it there. So let's see, what did I do? Okay. So after I do those kind of directional lines, I'm going to start filling in with some hatching. And I can start building my hatching a little bit more. And then as I go towards the edge right here, my hatching is going to kind of fade just a little bit. It's the, you know, the thinnest in the middle, but it's not going to be quite as heavy. I'm sort of filling in some things right there, and I'm making it, it's kind of like a ledge right here. I'm making it more 3D. It's kind of like there's a side here and then there's a top here, if you see it that way. You may pull in a little bit of blue, especially around this little edge, it would be really cool, especially because this is darker right here. Just gives it a little something right there. And also it's right next to that cast shadow, so that actually helps. You can pull it through the middle if you want, just a little bit. I'm not gonna do that much. The last color we're gonna do is this yellow right here. Outlining like I did. I'm making it heavier where this heavy line is. I'm doing the same kind of directional lines like I did there. That's kind of like curved horizontally lines. Doing some of this number here, weighting it kind of like what I did right there. I am going to introduce just a wee bit of red. I'll maybe put it on a little blob, maybe on some of the edge, but not much, not much. You still want it to appear to be yellow. You could put a little cast shadow of a little bit of this blue right here just because it's up against that heavy cast shadow. But I think that does it. So anyway, practice, see what you can pull, see what you can do, and I'll help you out. Thanks.